So, Dad, are you excited?
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited to be here to kind of keep you guys in check.
Not going to happen.
False claims.
Are you kidding me? We're talking about aliens. We're talking about...
We are just going at it.
We're going big time.
We are going at it. By the way, I like the drive, Jake.
Thank you.
It's like it's a throwback. I like the throwback.
Thank you. I didn't want to draw myself.
I don't know, Jake. I'm not sure if I like the double chin that you gave me, though.
It was not a double chin. It was definite definition there.
Oh, definition.
Definition.
Yeah, that works out.
You and Josh just have a very similar head, so trying to get you distinguishable.
The only difference between Dad and I's head is I have a pointy head, Dad rounds out.
Are you saying I have a big head there, Josh?
No, I just said round out.
Okay.
What the size are your guys' heads? I had mine officially tested at 7 5/8.
Officially tested.
I did.
You mean measured?
Whatever.
Tell us what they said, Danny, about your head.
I had it officially tested, and all tests came back very
good.
negative.
Not good.
You get your head from your dad, because I'm between a 7 5/8 and an 8. So there you go.
And
Wait, that's a huge jump.
I'm about right there.
Well, it's right in between.
I got-
so
I got Dad.
7 3/4, 7 7/8, and a solid 8.
I think I'm 7.5.
See, and you and Danny, I think, got the taller heads.
The long face.
Where I got the
See,
squattier
I've always
wide head.
felt that my head is way more squatty.
Really?
Like the older
No.
I get, I feel like it's squatting down, and maybe it's just my beard is hiding it.
I mean, it could be. There's a reason I don't shave my beard.
Do you know why mine looks like I'm long? Because I don't have a neck anymore. It just keeps going.
It's just one continues.
One down to the chest.
I say, as I always tell people, I never had a neck.
Aw.
Yes, you did. When you caught me off your mission.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I guess, but that was also due to walking in a sauna 24/7, 15 miles a day. So, I mean, there was reasons behind that.
I
I
will
felt
say,
great.
the best neck out of all of us was Dad back in the day.
There we go.
I'm gonna go squat 7,000.
Let's remember that back in the day thing. I'll take that.
Back in the day.
All right, should we get started?
It's a
Dad. Welcome to the Twaddling Along Podcast. I am your host, Dan McBride, here with my brothers and co-host, Joshua.
Hey there, Sonny.
Did you notice I went back to Joshua?
I know, what the heck?
I don't know. And Jacob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jake.
And we have a guest co-host today, someone who's joining us. We're going to call him a matter expert. And that is our dad. Hey, Dad.
Greetings all. Happy to be here with the Twaddlers.
Ken McBride. He's joining us because
Yeah.
he's the only one that actually knows what he's talking about. And we thought that we'd at least try to do some factual things on this podcast every once in a while.
I don't like it.
Well,
Let's be honest. I think Mom told him to be here to keep us in check.
is that what it is?
Okay, I'm not going to divulge anything.
How much
because
did
Mom
she
will be
pay you?
listening to this.
How much did she pay you? We'll pay more. If you'd like to sponsor this podcast, please, because we're going to run out really quick.
Do we need
you
to start a
want
GoFundMe page? Please help us.
If you want to sponsor us not listening to our mom,
I think I could take advantage of this.
email
So let's-
us at emails@twaddlingalong.com. That's emails@twaddlingalong.com.
How much legal problems do you think I would get if I started a GoFundMe page specifically for that?
I don't know.
I think you'd be
I think
sued so
GoFundMe
quick.
has some. They have like some terms, but it
No,
sure seems
no.
like not that
Do
good of
a-
terms sometimes.
Not a GoFundMe, do a
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
Yes.
What's the outcome? Well,
We give you a shirt that has our faces on it.
because I'm sure people would love walking
just-
around that.
They would love that.
I would
That's
love it.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Josh would love.
I'd pay
Josh
him.
would love a shirt with his face on it.
I think I already do.
Which one am I?
Well, we are back after our 2-week kind of. We're going to call it mini vacation. Our 2-week mini vacation.
Was it 2 weeks?
No, just a week,
Well,
bro.
I know
Yeah.
it's been 2 weeks since we did it. It's been 2 weeks since a release.
Oh, I guess
Well,
when
they
this
don't
comes
know
out,
that.
I see.
Well, they do now,
Oh, okay.
and that means that we're back on history.
Oh no.
And not only are we back on history, we're back with Josh picking the history lesson. We know how entertaining that can be because Josh's history is more hearsay than anything else.
I like to remind everyone that everything said on this podcast does not reflect any institution or beliefs that we believe in and or belong to. It is just a matter of opinion and a lot of bull crap.
Please don't sue us is what we're trying to say.
What happens when you pull up how does this work and Google and click at the first link?
I go off of the AI.
Which is even worse.
It is really bad. It's not great.
I'll tell you, I was looking up some banking information just to clarify that it was attached to a certain bank. Typed in the number and it was like, yes, it's this number. Contacted the bank itself and they're like, what the? Like,
Really?
not even that number at all.
AI's frightening.
That's when I'm troubleshooting computers and I type in the symptoms. It's like
Cancer.
You just turn it off and turn it on again. I'm like, well, I already did that.
You have bladder cancer. Oh, shoot.
So I guess my question is, what's AI?
Oh, Dad.
Just kidding.
And Dad,
Just
that's
kidding.
Next week's podcast. That's right. And we'll have you again.
We'll welcome Dad back again.
The paranormal AI.
Ooh.
Okay, so Josh, what are we talking about this week? It's not AI.
It is not AI, or is it?
Dun dun.
We might be talking about that a little bit later if we get really, really off topic today. But we are talking about something that's come up in the news recently. At least a subject that's come up in the news. Not the exact thing, but we might get into it. Who knows? Like I said, we're just going to let the river flow. The Nile River that's next to the pyramids
That was a great
of
segue, Josh.
Egypt.
Now I have to go to the bathroom.
We are talking about the pyramids of Egypt. The
Giza.
yeah, that one too. Pyramids of Giza.
Danny, there's more than just the Pyramid of Giza.
But that's what we're talking about.
Is it
Josh
really?
just forgot about the pyramids of Giza.
Crap, I studied the
Well-
wrong pyramid.
Well, I'll do a precursor here. So the pyramids of Giza were actually the pinnacle of pyramid building, but there were several decades of pyramid building before the pyramids of Giza.
There was a step pyramid.
Yep, which was built by Djoser. Imhotep, who is not the bad guy from Mummy.
Oh, what a great... Hey, we're back at Brendan Fraser.
That was good.
For those of you who don't know, we're kind of doing a throwback episode this week because our very first podcast
Was Egypt.
was about Egypt.
Tutankhamun.
It's almost like Josh forgot what he was saying. Egypt.
I'm having a stroke.
So, Josh, why did we invite Dad today?
So, the reason we invited Dad is, well,
Think about it.
Come on.
he's very wise.
That's good.
That's excellent.
And he's kind of been over there.
Are you saying that he's the only one that's actually seen the pyramids out of any of us?
He's
Is that
the-
what you're trying to say, Joshua?
He's the only one who's seen it and been inside of the Great
I
Pyramids.
like the idea of kind
is
of.
correct.
I've kind of been there. I had an out of body experience and I walked through it. It was good.
I had a dream once.
I put on a VR headset. Anyways, yes, so Dad, you actually visited the Great Pyramids. How old were you when you did that?
I was actually 19 years old.
19?
And,
Oh
yep,
wow! So that's when they were being built.
I had the opportunity to be. Yeah.
Wow,
Let's see,
Jake, throw him under
just
the
went from
bus.
his favorite son, and he just dropped just like that.
No longer the perfect child.
Jacob
Sucker.
lost his perfect
There
child
goes
status.
my inheritance.
So 19 years old now. Dad, what were you doing over in the Middle East at that time?
I had the great opportunity to be over and studying the Middle Eastern education and religion with the Brigham Young University Study Abroad program. So we were actually living in Israel, and this particular trip we made a side trip down to Egypt and was able to actually go through the pyramids like we're going to talk about tonight, and also see other artifacts and museums that are just phenomenal. So
Did you do King Tut's tomb?
we did.
Well, we should have had you on the first episode.
Yeah,
I tried
yeah.
telling you that, but you guys were like,
Yeah,
it's only us.
in the Valley of the Kings.
I don't know if I did that.
Close to Luxor, across from the Nile, down in central southern Egypt.
So how many days did you spend in Egypt?
We actually spent 5 days in Egypt, and we actually drove down from Israel. So we were staying in Jerusalem, and we drove down across the Suez Canal to get down there and back in a bus. And so you can imagine that was quite a trip.
A bunch of BYU students in a bus driving through Egypt. Yes,
They were probably
That
singing
sounds
the
like-
Spirit of God. Like a,
to use the common vernacular of BYU, that sounds like a telestial kingdom like event.
I'm kind of thinking it's more of the outer darkness.
Outer
right.
darkness. So now, what year was this in?
This was in 1983.
1983.
1983. So I'm
So
not
not
going to
too
say,
long.
but like 42 years ago.
That is correct. 42 years ago.
So here's my question: was there conflict at the time? Was there ever not conflict? I know, seriously.
There actually was conflict, not as much with what we're seeing today with Gaza, but there was portions of Gaza you didn't go into even back then. More of the conflict was between Israel and Syria. And
Which is the north border, right?
Correct. But still, with that being said, going across the Egyptian border, there was still some heavy security that we ran into, and it took us about 4 hours just to get across the border.
Oh my God.
It was also the first time that most BYU students had a prostate exam.
That's exactly true. Thanks, Danny.
Oh, well, that's exciting. Well, Dad, we're happy to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And so we're going to just start off with a few random facts I'm going to talk about the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is also known as the Pyramid of Khufu. It is the one of the 7 wonders of the world. Ancient world, I should say. Ancient world. It was built over a period of 26 years. So my entire lifetime, minus a few years. Now, for those Utah listeners, the Salt Lake Temple was built, or the pyramids were built 14 years faster than the Salt Lake Temple.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That blows my mind.
So just a thing. And it's also nearly 3 times as tall as the temple. So I work downtown, and my building that I work in is about 480 something on feet. The pyramids are, let me just make sure I'm getting this, 454 feet currently, but 481 feet when it was finished. So it's roughly about the size of a 26 story skyscraper.
That's crazy.
Well, it was the tallest structure in the world for like 3,000 years.
Yep.
Up until the Eiffel Tower.
The
right?
Eiffel Tower. And Dad, you've seen the Eiffel Tower.
Yep. I have seen the Eiffel Tower.
We'll bring you back when we do the Eiffel Tower talk.
Very good. I would enjoy that.
Yeah, so it was built during the old kingdom, which was about 2600 BC, and like I said, we'll get in the conspiracies of pyramids
Dun, dun, dun.
a little bit later on after we have some sharing time. And like I said, it was built in 26 years, and the fun fact is it is one of the biggest structures ever built by the human race. Human race?
Human race.
Species.
And the thing is we don't really know how they did it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
still
there's a
remains
lot
a
of-
mystery.
Yeah, there is a lot of archaeology that is done, and Egyptologists who kind of say they've figured out at least a process.
Yeah.
However, to the manpower that it would require would be huge. And it's not saying that they didn't have the manpower, because they had plenty of people during the non-wet parts of the year that did it.
Well, think about it. 2.3 million stone blocks.
That each weigh,
About 70 tons or just a little less.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So the biggest rock that modern age has moved is only about a third of the size of one of the stones on the pyramid, and it took almost 4 weeks to move with modern day machinery.
That's in Los Angeles.
Yep.
It's in the Los Angeles Art Museum.
So
I
you-
actually saw it. It's pretty cool.
Wasn't the they had to get like how many wheels
They-
semi wheels on that
They
thing?
built they built a trailer just to move this rock.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I had seen something on it, but like they had like over 100, I think, semi wheels. I have to look it up now.
Yeah, something like
wild.
that.
What's the rock called?
I
no
can't
idea.
remember.
Just look up.
I only studied
Big rock.
Luxor, Las Vegas, so I'm a little confused right now.
And
Jake
Dad, you've been there too.
Jake knows all. When we talk about
Dad's
Las
been
Vegas,
everywhere.
Dad, we're going to bring you back.
No, so yeah, the pyramids. So Dad, I want you to tell everyone how far is it from Cairo
It's called the Giza
Plateau?
complex, actually.
Oh, complex. Yeah.
Giza pyramid complex, because there's more than just one pyramid. There's several pyramids, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Josh has got that. But that Giza complex and the Sphinx is about 11 miles from downtown Cairo.
That is
So
wild.
all of those who get the postcard that like they're out in the middle of nowhere, it's probably like 10 minutes
It
from
actually
the outskirts of town.
It actually across the street from where the Sphinx is, which is about a little over a mile from the more of the pyramid area. There's a town. There's homes. There's shops. There's everything right there.
Oh my gosh.
That would drive me nuts living close
Yeah.
to something like that.
Walk out your door. Dang! And then walk back in your door.
Darn Americans.
Okay, so let's head into the pyramids. Now, the pyramids have been around, like I said, since 2600 BC or thereabouts.
So to put that in perspective, just really quick, when we talked about King Tut was born at about between 14 and 1300 BC. So the pyramids were 1,300 years old, 1,300 years old by the time King Tut was born and was kind of tutting around.
Yeah, so that's, to put that in perspective, that's a lot of like the old ruins of medieval castles found in, Europe.
Even more. I know that we talked a little bit about it, like the original Notre Dame or Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Hello, American.
The original Notre Dame.
With those Celtics. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Leprechauns.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, wrong podcast.
Yeah, here's an interesting fact as well. The pyramids were older when Cleopatra was around. We're closer to Cleopatra than Cleopatra was to the pyramids.
That timetable just blows my mind.
So
Or were we?
Dun dun.
they're very old, and
That's going
for
to be my catchphrase.
a very, very long time, no one went inside. Of course, a lot of people know that it was a tomb built as an original tomb for the pharaoh.
Or was it?
Like I said, we're going to get into the nitty gritties because we love the crazy haired man off aliens, ancient aliens. And so we're going to talk about a few things. But
Wait, before you continue, just because I put a lot of effort into this, there was 196 wheels
196
for that
wheels.
Leviathan mass.
196.
That's for the Luxor pyramid?
no, that's for the rock that we
The
just
rock
moved.
that they
Can
moved.
you,
Oh, that they're
can you
rocks.
imagine they can just push the Luxor pyramid around? There it goes down the street.
Wouldn't that be an amazing exhibit to go visit? There it is. What
Anyway,
was I going to
continue.
say?
So, Dad, you've been in there.
I have, yeah.
Tell us about it.
The exciting thing about the Pyramid of Khufu is the entrance that you go in and actually can visit and climb in the inside of this pyramid is not the entrance. The entrance that was prepared for the Pharaoh Khufu for this tomb. What it is it's called the Robber's Tunnel or the Robber's Entrance, where there were the individuals that actually were able to bypass some of the restrictions that the initial builders had put so that they could get inside up to a certain point of the chambers inside the temple or inside the pyramid to get up into some of the area where there's a lot more of the gold and some of the sarcophagus and some of those things.
Can you imagine walking through those tunnels for the first time in a few
Oh, that
centuries?
would be
How
the
That would
terrifying
scare me to death.
And I just like to point out, this would be like a needle in a haystack trying to find this small corridor in the pyramid, which makes me think they knew exactly where it was.
Yeah, I know that there are some reports that at least Egyptologists believe that the pyramids themselves were robbed really early on after their construction. It wasn't like we're not talking about 1300 AD.
No.
A bunch of knights came through and kind of dug their way in. It was probably pretty darn shortly after, within about 100 years.
Most Egyptologists believe that most tombs that have been robbed were robbed within a year or two after they were buried, and that gold and other priceless artifacts were used in subsequent burials of pharaohs.
Well, it's interesting. They actually just found a tomb. I can't remember if it was this month or last month where they actually went in, and it really is confusing people because they went in and everything had been taken, and it was the first time it had been unsealed since it had been
that's
sealed.
Beginning.
So what they're thinking is that right after they put them in there, people went in, looted it, and then they sealed it after the fact.
Which
So
I'm
it
going
was
to be
part of
honest,
the
it kind of
process.
makes sense. being buried with so much gold, there had to have been at least some practicality to the Egyptians.
Can you imagine being the servant
You
that was
know.
buried? Hey,
Yeah, and that's the thing is the gold was actually a scarce mineral in Egypt, but the Nubian Empire to the south had a ton of it, and so you would have to go to war to get all this gold, and so, like you said,
Or trade,
practically,
yeah.
it just wasn't a big deal.
Well, going back to what you guys did with the King Tut, you can now see why the Tutankhamun findings for that tomb was so big, because it was literally untouched, and that was very rare just because of what we've been talking about, where the looters were coming in fairly quickly. And some of the looters, their intention was not only to loot, but also to desecrate. And so they would take out the names and other things so you wouldn't know who
They
was in there.
pooped on
early
the
day
pyramid.
gangsta
That's it.
graffitiers.
Well, I think that's why we mentioned it a little bit with King Tut, but that's why like historical record of the actual pharaohs is so kind of screwy.
Yep.
Is that if they didn't like someone, they just kind of crossed out their names and it kind of mucked with the entire historical record. And so
Yeah, and you have to think that the pharaohs were known as gods themselves. And so if you were the next god, you don't want people worshiping another person. You just,
Especially if they did it
Take 'em out.
incorrectly in their mind.
yeah. Exactly. And so, okay, Dad, so describe, visualize, if you will. How does it look? You're coming in the robber's tunnel or robber's
Right.
entrance, and you enter the great, what's it called?
Great Hall.
Yes, the Great Hall.
Let me just kind of walk you through it. And listeners, I'm bringing up Disney. Here we go.
Oh boy.
When you're going in Indiana Jones, right there as you enter the main structure at Disneyland, a lot of that has similar characteristics of what the Robbers Tunnel is. It's very tight though, and low ceiling, and you're literally walking through where it took them a number of years to tunnel through to get to some of the main areas where they could get up into the main chamber. Once you get through that, then there's a few steps that you're still very tight until you get to the first shaft. And that shaft is not vertical, but it is fairly steep. And so they've got stairs or wooden planks that you can walk on to keep steady.
Looks like they even installed arm
Yeah, railings.
railings and stuff.
The initial railings. And the other thing about this first shaft is the height is probably about just under 6 feet. And so anyone that is even close to it, even myself at 5'10" at the time, I had to duck to climb up this shaft, even with the railing and everything. So everyone is hunkering down. If you felt up to that point that you had any claustrophobia at all, you would never make it because it was that tight. Then once you got up to a certain point, now, by the way, that shaft is the original shaft that these robbers were able to find. Then you get up to a thing that they call the Great Hall. And that's where you've got a lot more of the pitch ceilings, and the ceilings go up quite a bit higher, almost 15 feet. And you've got a little bit more room, but nonetheless, especially in today's world and how it was back when I was there, you've got tour groups that are coming and going, and it gets pretty tight and congested in that area. And so to what Josh was saying, as you go through this great hall, then you go into some other tight little entranceways that I had to stoop over until you finally get into the main chamber.
And they
where
have
the
this entire thing
sarcophagus-
lit, right?
Yeah, everything's lit.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's lit. But one of the things that, as I was remembering some of that whole experience, even getting into the main chamber, that's kind of the great place because it was a little more roomy than anything else that you had up to that point. But you started thinking about yourself inside this huge pyramid with rock with how it was built. And then as dusty as it was and realizing how much tons and tons of rocks above you, sideways, everywhere, then you get into the main chamber and realize you're at the heart of this whole thing. And it's quiet. There's a little bit of air that comes through because of ventilation that they put in. But other than that, it's just you and the pyramid.
Oh, claustrophobia.
See, and this is where my architectural background comes and is like, because the genius of building the king's room, as they call it, and
King's
also
chamber.
the Great Hall, is an architectural genius. How they did it. And how they did it is they were actually worried because it was just going to be a box per se where the king's chamber was. But then they realized that, like my dad said, the weight of the pyramid above them would collapse the ceiling. And in fact, I don't know if you saw this, Dad, there are cracks in the top of the ceiling.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they had to make a pivot and build a structure which was revolutionary at the time to disperse the weight from that room to the outside of the pyramid.
And what that is small little chambers above the king's chamber in order to dissipate that weight, as you were saying, Josh. And but again, take what you just said. As you're in this room, you see cracks.
Oh yeah,
you got dust. You got a lot of people there. And by the way, this room, the dimensions of this thing is 19 feet high, 34 feet long, and 17 feet wide. So you're in a pretty good room, but it becomes quite close and tight.
Oh, with the amount of people going in there,
yeah.
I can't even imagine.
And the other thing is you have a huge granite sarcophagus.
Correct.
Towards the end, but
It's part
that
of that
thing
room.
is massive.
Yeah, it's part of that room.
Oh my gosh. So, for all you listeners out there who have claustrophobia, because remember we talked about claustrophobia.
Yep.
I have it. That's why we have dads who have gone and done and been.
We're living vicariously.
Ooh, let's bring up one of Josh's other fears. Were there any spiders or scorpions inside?
You know what? Nothing inside, which was kind of interesting because we were several of us were looking for them. We thought, hey, Egypt, scorpions, we're going to see something in there. But interesting enough, you didn't see hardly any. In fact, we did not see any insects
Not
whatsoever.
even. How about bats?
No
I've heard
bats.
that there's bats,
No,
but
no
nothing?
bats.
Ah, interesting.
Because they know it's cursed.
Well, if you really look at it, there's not a lot of places for them to be that aren't inhabited by individuals coming through, because again, these chambers or these walkways or things that you're actually climbing stairs on, they're pretty tight, and except for the main hall, you know, it's really, really tight. There's not a lot of places they can go. Interesting enough, they don't take you down into the Queen's Chamber, which is another shaft that goes down that has been blocked off. And right below the main chamber, going down the opposite direction, is the Queen's Chamber.
And the crazy thing is that has actually sub-level. So that is actually beneath
those.
the foundation of the pyramid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
that's
here's another fact. They call it the Queen's Chamber, but do you realize that was named in the 1600s?
Yes.
So it was probably not even for the Queen. It was just another chamber that we don't know really the purpose of.
And there is in the Giza pyramid complex, they have several little small pyramids off to one side. Those are also called the Queen's Pyramids, and there's some belief that the queens of Khufu could have also inhabited those.
Yeah, because at the time they were very polygamous. They had several wives, millions of children. And so it was most likely that he had several queens.
And they inbred like crazy.
Which led to Tutankhamun. And if you want to find out about his problems, please listen to our first podcast.
Yep, first episode.
Or don't, because we've improved since then. Just take our word that it's pretty good.
You don't... You missed me talking from over here?
Well, okay, so now, Dad, you had mentioned something when I first invited you to come to this podcast that I have now seen on videos, is that you slide down one of the corridors.
Yeah, there is in the big hall. You can in the small because it's too tight.
Yeah.
But in the large shaft, that's the big hall. The wood on both sides has been basically hewn down because of all the traffic that's in there. Mm-hmm. And so several of us did what typically you can even look at in some of these salt mines in Europe that the miners used for a slide to come back or go down into the earth and to get to the levels they need to. And so that's what we did. On this big hall, you're able to just put your legs over both sides and just slide down. And it was quite the experience.
So
now, whether or not that's legal or not, I'm not sure.
I was just about to say, so
I don't think they do it now.
So in my mind, here is a bunch of BYU students having what should be a momentous historical like occasion going into the pyramids of Khufu. And their only thought was, how can we turn this into a slide?
Now, one other thing that we ran into outside, just before we got into the pyramid, there was an event that happened. It's called a khamsin, and what that is, a dry desert wind that pulls the sand, dirt, and everything else. So if you look at the experience and the atmosphere that was happening, we were walking right into an Indiana Jones experience. Yeah. Or, as you said, with Brendan Fraser, you're looking for that mummy right now.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh, see, there's a part of me that desperately wants to see it because I was obsessed with Egypt as a kid.
I'm
loved
still
it,
obsessed.
Loved it. But then there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if I could do it. I want to hope that I could, but I don't know. I think that I would get down halfway through the thing and I'd start squealing like a little girl. Let me out.
Well,
let me out.
The other side of that is with all the individuals in there and as tight as the quarters are, you sweated like crazy going because it's quite strenuous to climb these stairs, going up these shafts that again have a little bit more of a vertical run. And by the time you got up, you were grateful for a little bit of that air in the king's chamber, but you really didn't feel a lot of it as you were getting up to it.
Were you able to see the blocked chambers? Like, were you able to see like the blocked causeways and the...
Yeah, there's one point as you're coming out of the robbers' tunnel. That's how they came in right above the block that they put on the first shaft that you climbed up. And so you were able to look back and see where that stone block was in order to get into that specific shaft to get up to the grand hall and then up into the king's chamber.
Fun fact, that has since been removed.
Oh, has
you
it
know
really?
that?
I
So
didn't know
that has been removed, and the entrance can now be used, but they still use the robber just to protect because it's actually pretty far up the pyramid.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are 4 massive granite blocks that pulleys and stuff were used to lower it in, so it literally sealed off the entrance. And so the robbers had to go through the limestone, which was easier to cut, to come up into the corridor.
Those were some dedicated guys.
But I look at how tight that entrance was and just try to visualize how they were able to get a lot of that gold, a lot of the things out of the king's chamber back down through these little small tight tunnels because it was really, really tight.
Ooh.
Get the smallest Egyptian you know.
So is that the only pyramid on the Giza that you can go into?
You know, the other ones are they are open. The people have gone in there. It's the only one that is allowed to go into by visitors at this point. It was when I was there. From what I've been reading, it sounds like it's the only one that's available.
Yeah, due to political different things, and that's really the only pyramid that you can go into. And like you said, when you watch these videos where they're by themselves, I watched a GoPro, and it is absolute chaos.
Really?
In the pyramid.
Well, I have to admit that one of my guilty pleasures is watching professional grifters from international communities.
Oh, yeah.
And there's always like videos of people going to the pyramids and people just trying to get whatever money they can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, guided tour, $20. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, you have to take off your shoes and put these special shoes on, $3,000. And the people just, politely, no, thank you. And they're aggressive. Did you have that when you were there, Dad?
Not as bad as it looks like it is now. One of the things we did have is there was a charge to get inside the pyramid. Now you have a charge just to get on the Giza complex.
Really?
Then you have another charge to get inside the pyramid. So, yeah.
Wow.
But now they have little shops. They have people all over outside the pyramid that are coming and just attacking all of the tourists to try to get money and sell souvenirs, whatever it may be.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. But I will say, when I've seen the movie The Mummy, as you guys have talked about, and going into some of the other tombs, this one had a lot of significance because it was a lot more of an impact by the sheer size and also the engineering that it took to create what we saw, but also the experience itself of going inside and feeling that that big, huge pyramid around you.
Yeah.
And I don't get claustrophobic, but I knew several individuals from our group that were a little more claustrophobic, and it was an extreme opportunity for them to really kind of go in and test that, and some of them didn't do very well.
So here's my question. Was it lost to you as a 19-year-old what you were doing? Like looking back now, would you have had more of an experience and more of like a emotional connection with the pyramids if you had gone later in life?
Yeah, I think even though we studied a little bit about Egypt and some of the ruins that we were going to see, one of the things we have obviously today is we have the ability to look at that information no matter what we do. Looking on our phones, you can bring up stuff, you can bring up videos, everything else. We didn't have that back then, so it was like I've told my sons, it was one of those things where I had a journal entry that was one page, and it was, hey, we went in the pyramids. It was crazy. We had this wind. I rode some camels, and then we got back to the hotel. Today, it would be a whole different experience because of what I know about it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's your boy.
It's your boy, Kenny. So what's up? Well, that is awesome. And I think this is a grand opening to talk about the controversies or conspiracies.
What controversies and conspiracies are you talking about?
All right, let's begin. First off, let's go back inside the pyramids. How they found out that there were chambers above the king's room. Back in the 1800s, they had a nice Frenchman went inside the pyramid, and he was like, "How the heck was this built?"
That was a wonderful
And
French accent.
they stuck reeds through the cracks in the ceiling, and they realized that it was hollow above them. So what they did is they brought in dynamite and blew up the ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
Like any Frenchman would do.
They blew up a hole just wide enough.
I will blow up the
Bon voyage. So they blew up a hole wide enough to send somebody up, and they got to the next one, and they're like, "Ooh, there's more space above." And they kept blowing up, so there's literally a hole in the ceiling now that goes all the way up to the very top of the building thingy.
It's like Minecraft.
The French really did a number on Egypt. Because wasn't Napoleon also like shooting cannons at the Sphinx?
He
That's
took
a
off the nose
rumor.
of the Sphinx.
It is a rumor?
Yeah. They have paintings back in the day, and the nose was already gone.
Oh.
And
Ooh, we can start controversies about the Sphinx.
Ooh. I will only briefly mention that the Sphinx has a lot to do with a lot of the controversy that surrounds the pyramids, only because of the dating of the Sphinx. And that is a really fascinating kind of
we'll talk
story.
about that.
It will have to be its own thing.
And we'll
because
invite Dad because he's been there. All right,
Right at the foot of the Sphinx.
Next, you come out. How in the world did the Egyptians build the pyramids? Now, in recent years, they've discovered that they had somewhat of similar to the Panama Canal, how you can raise and lower water structures to bring the stones up from the Nile and place them right on the Giza block. But that doesn't answer how they got the blocks several hundred feet in the air to put on the top. So that is still something that's being discussed. And some say ramps, but how, like, those ramps had to be ginormous to be able to bring those up.
They're massive blocks. You have a lot of times pictures don't do it justice just to know how big those blocks really are all the way to the top.
Yeah. And to think that...
And it was also skinned.
Yeah,
I mean, the pyramids that we know now are not what the pyramids look like. It was skinned with limestone. Had a huge gold top.
They said that it shone like a diamond when the sun would hit it just right.
Yep.
How annoying would that
So
be? You live in one of the hottest places on earth. You step outside and you're fried by the pyramid.
It's the gods talking to you, Danny.
There you go. Osiris.
So Josh, are you going to bring up the alien factor?
Oh, you bet.
Aliens.
But first, I wanted to bring up this.
Woolly mammoths.
Do you realize that the pyramid is exactly squared north, east, west, and south?
Really?
Only by a quarter of a degree off.
Yeah,
That is
they're
pretty amazing.
all aligned to that true north.
Also, here's another crazy thing.
It's aligned exactly with the north-south direction of the Big Dipper and Little Dipper.
And that's the thing.
Astronomy.
The complex itself with the 3 huge pyramids and the other queens matches exactly the Orion constellation. So the 3 sisters and the different stars surrounding it, the pyramids are in exactly the right spots.
I say, well, with that being the 0.05 degrees off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like people are saying, well, you have to remember that the alignment of the stars is changing very gradually. So there's a good chance that it aligns.
They had it
It was
correct.
actually,
Yep.
yeah, good point.
And so you think, here you are, Imhotep. Let's go back to Djoser's pyramid, the step pyramid.
Imhotep.
I like the name Djoser.
Yeah, spelled with a D. It's silent.
I think it's from Ghostbusters. Isn't that Gozer the
Gozer.
the
Gatekeeper?
Gozerian.
yeah, the Gozerian. Gozer the Gozerian. There you go, Dad.
That's coming from the dad. Thank you.
Djoser.
But you have this Imhotep guy who's like, let's build a pyramid. Well, actually, he said, let's build a mastaba. And then he's like, let's build a mastaba on top of that mastaba.
Explain what a mastaba is.
Mastaba is basically a tomb that they built themselves. So it's, if you take the step pyramid and it's the very bottom layer, that's what the original tombs used to be like.
You guys know why I know that.
Because of Pharaoh.
Pharaoh, the video game, the computer
Wow,
game
nice.
Pharaoh, and its follow-up Cleopatra. I spent a huge amount of time.
I still play them.
Do you?
I still do.
Oh man,
I
they were
still
so much fun.
accidentally drown people from the Nile when it comes up.
But you think they had no wheel. Wheels didn't exist.
Or did they?
Or did they? And that's the next conspiracy. The dating, like you guys said, the Sphinx kind of throws off all the carbon dating because the Sphinx actually measures thousands of years older than the pyramids.
Yeah, well,
Sort of.
Yeah.
According to
Danny,
some people.
it's 12,000 years
I don't
old. Come
want to
on.
be I'm the naysayer or the devil's advocate, but that's still up for debate on exactly how.
But
I'm going 15,000 years
here's
old.
what I'll say. The first historical record that mentions Khufu and the pyramids dates them after the time of the Ramses period. So it was only 800 AD, around there is when the first mention of it and says that it was around that time.
of the pyramids.
Of the pyramids. That
That's
they say it
weird.
was built around then. That was Herodotus. Stated that it was after the great Ramses period.
Herodotus was
Well-
a Greek philosopher.
Well, one of the things that I have to remember, I just got done reading a book about the Sumerians, and one of the things they said is even though language developed,
Mhm.
historical language was actually one of the later things that was actually developed when it comes to language.
Yeah.
So Sumerians, they developed language just because they wanted to count things and charge people money.
Yeah.
And it kind of shifted from there. And by the time that the Egypts were doing it, they had a little bit more structure, but it also wasn't like a good way of telling historical fiction or
Yeah.
historical fact. That came later
And
during Tutankhamun and afterward.
I will also say this. There is quite a significant amount of evidence that the pyramids themselves were buried in sand up to a very high point. The head of the Sphinx was up to very high point as well. And it was a pharaoh after King Tutankhamun who had a dream to basically claim the pharaoh that he was legitimate, that unburied and had people unbury the pyramids and the Sphinx. And now the dream stela is in front of the Sphinx. And so it was possibility that he was referencing that it was rediscovered per
That's
se.
interesting. Were there hieroglyphs in the pyramids, Dad, that you can remember?
You know what? Not that I remembered seeing. I obviously, being in Tutankhamun and some others, you saw hieroglyphs,
Yeah.
and it was impressive.
I didn't think they
Even-
implemented hieroglyph.
Even some of the colors and some of the things that they used. I think this was more ancient, and if they were there, they weren't obviously through time just
Interesting.
gone.
So the only hieroglyphs that they have found have been graffiti from the workers up above the king's chamber that were basically stating measurements and also the names of the work teams that were there. So they had competitions. They literally
Joseph was here.
no, literally, that's exactly what it was. They have written accounts
Moses.
up in there where they have the work teams basically gambling who can finish which wall first.
Oh, really?
And so they have those type of graffiti up in there.
Now, Dad, you went to Luxor, right?
I did.
How far away is Luxor from Giza?
Luxor from the Giza,
on the
Cairo
other side of the
area
world.
is about, if you travel by car, about 7.5 hours. And it's south.
Hey,
Just
wow.
south on the Nile.
It's about 5 hours away from us.
So
Jake, that's like one of those people that come and say, I'm going to go to Salt Lake and Zion's in an hour.
Or the people that say, I'm going to go to Paris, Idaho.
Well, I mean, Luxor was just amazing. So, I mean, it was built in 1992. So, I mean,
By the
Oh,
mob.
in Vegas. Oh, man, I am so lost.
oh, we're not talking about Vegas.
Now, Karnak
Dang
is in
it, I-
Luxor, right?
I almost started a good chat about
The
that.
temple
yes,
of
the
Karnak.
Temple of Karnak is right there in Luxor. And it's interesting, a lot of people see that, but they don't realize how close that is to the Nile, where Luxor is literally on the Nile River.
Is it? So where's the Valley of the Kings?
Valley of the Kings is across the Nile from Luxor and maybe just a little bit northwest. And it's not only the Valley of the Kings, but you go over just a little rise and you've got the Valley of the Queens as well.
So really, I mean, distance-wise, they're really far apart. I mean, the Giza pyramids and where like the later society that would be, Egypt, were miles and miles apart. So people could have just forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I'll point this out. The reason for that is Upper and Lower Egypt are opposite of how we would see Upper and Lower Egypt.
Because of the flow of the
Yeah,
Nile.
so Upper is actually south, Lower is north. In the Old Kingdom, the Lower Egyptian Nile people conquered Upper. That fell apart, the kingdom was split, and then in the Middle and New Kingdom, it was the opposite. The Upper Egyptians conquered the Lower Egyptians and had their capital way further south.
So
I got lost on Egyptians.
Is Giza itself was built by the Upper Egyptians? It wasn't built by a unified kingdom.
They were a unified kingdom.
They
at
were
that
a
point.
unified kingdom.
Yes. But only recently. They were the fourth dynasty, so it only probably been 150 years that they had been one people.
Interesting.
Guys, I have to make a correction.
Go, please.
The Luxor was built in 1993.
Man.
Thanks, Jake.
Have you guys ever been in the Luxor?
No.
Nope.
It's actually kind of a nice.
Didn't they just close the Luxor?
No.
No,
that's
it's still open.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's a pretty nice one.
Okay.
It's like by the Bellagio.
Here's the part that I have been waiting for.
Tell us, Josh.
Aliens.
Dun dun dun.
There's two theories that the knowledge and the preciseness was provided from extraterrestrials, or that Khufu himself and the architect, who was his half-brother, were actually interbred aliens that had stronger feats, and therefore the Egyptians were probably aliens,
I see.
offspring from an alien race.
So for those of us who like X-Files, alien-human hybrids.
Exactly.
Oh.
They also believe there are some things that state, just from the statues and different the dynamic. What word am I looking for?
Wait.
Oh, no.
Jake's got something to say. Jake's
Jake just
giggling
found
to
something.
himself.
I just looked up aliens and pyramids, and one of the first things came up. Did aliens build the pyramids? And other racist theories.
Oh, great. Thanks, Josh.
But I didn't bring it up this
Coming
time,
around.
Jake.
Oh,
But the dimensions, that's the word I was looking for, of the statues may suggest that the Egyptians back in the day were giants.
oh, that's the they call it the Nephilim theory.
Yep. And that could solve a lot of the issues of how did they lift these stones? Well, if they were 10 feet, 20 feet tall, it wouldn't have been as big of a feat for us little dudes.
Or, hear me out, humans are just kind of awesome. And
Oh,
we
there
are
you go.
very capable of coming up with ingenious and new ways of doing things.
But that's so boring.
Pseudo-archaeology conspiracy theories that ancient civilizations were founded by aliens or denizens of Atlantis
That is true.
are more than just silly. They're dangerous. That's what this article says. That's why it's racist.
Say that again,
Who
Jake.
wrote the article?
It's on sapiens.org.
Sapiens.
It was written.
Is
It was
that
written by Stephanie Homhofer.
Stephanie.
Homhofer.
No, but that is one of the last ones that I want to bring up. The final, which has only come out in the past month. It is the underground city below the Pyramid of Khufu. LiDAR scan, or SIDAR, I can't remember what they call it, from a space satellite put on by two businesses in Italy and France, I believe, did some underground scanning and realized that there are 8 cylindrical pillars from the base of the pyramid that go down about 600 meters down into the surface of the plateau, and underneath those are wide open spaces, box-shaped spaces, to suggest that they were large rooms and or apartment-like looking things. So
what you're saying is aliens came and said, you know what would look good right here? An apartment complex. It's like what they're doing right now here in Utah. Do you know what looks good right here?
Apartments.
but
Condo.
pause. There was a book written 300 years ago
Oh dear, not this one.
called Thoth, or
The Book of Thoth.
The Book of Thoth and the Emerald Tablet.
That just sounds like a really bad.
It does. It sounds like something.
What
go
are you
through the-
reading? I'm reading the Book of Thoth.
It's one of those books that you find in the YA section of Barnes and Noble,
That's right.
and you look at it and you go, "This man wrote this with AI."
Now,
And they use an AI generated image.
Yeah,
yes,
That-
and
where
that's exactly
their
what it
fingers
is.
and toes are meshed together.
But the story of Thoth is Thoth was an Atlantean
Thoth.
who brought the knowledge of the ancients pre-flood to Egypt, and they collected all these knowledge and writings and history of the entire world on tablets, which they placed in underground facilities underneath modern day pyramids.
I like it.
Wow.
I've been keeping up with this news story because when it first came out, it was is some impressive SIDAR and underground images that are a little weird to explain. Most archaeologists out there are being like,
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy because it's not independently proven. They just announced it like just off the bat, and so probably here in the years to come we'll hear more about it. But here's the other thing. They found several more empty spaces in the pyramid itself. So you have the king's chamber, you have the queen's chamber. There's possibly over 4 more king chamber-like areas in the pyramid that was not known.
that is weird.
That is weird.
And so was it a tomb? Some say it's actually an electrical generator that's harnessed energy that needs to be released and could probably power the whole world.
Oh, is that what they say?
That's what they said.
And I'm
The
sure that
golden diamond on the top.
Tesla has something to do with it.
Yep, they said Tesla was right the whole time. That's why he was killed off.
He was killed off,
Yeah,
right?
there you
Right.
go.
Let's see. What other conspiracies can we loop in? Thomas Edison also knew about it, but he is part of the Illuminati.
Yep.
And so he killed people.
But if you think about it, Illuminati sign is what?
Oh my gosh, it's the pyramid.
It's the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, meaning that the pyramid contains knowledge of all things.
Or it means someone was really high on something.
Heck yeah.
Do you see that pyramid over there? It has an
That
eye.
eye is looking straight at me, man. I am of the opinion that
Or are you?
this is good, Jake. I like this catchphrase.
I am going to be doing
This
this
is a
for the
good
rest
This
of
is it.
the podcast.
I really
history.
like this catchphrase. I'm of the opinion that when it comes to looking at humanity, we don't give ourselves enough credit.
No.
Like that, it is very possible that the Egyptians, with no hidden secrets, no past knowledge, whatever, were perfectly capable of building these things.
Yeah.
That being said, I also am of the opinion. Yeah,
That
what
was me
that?
getting excited.
I am also of the opinion that history is incomplete.
Yes.
And so anytime that we make these grand statements where, oh, we know how the pyramids are made, you have no idea. You do not know what tools were there. They could have had wheels, and it's been 3,800 years, and those wheels have probably deteriorated to a point that you're not going to find them anymore.
It was mammoths.
Mammoths.
Ooh.
There
They
was,
used
I think
mammoths.
there was still mammoths
There was a
wandering around the Americas.
I
at
almost
that
said
time.
mastodon, but that's a freaking shark.
No,
No mastodons.
no
though.
mastodons.
Mastodons
not.
are okay. Yeah, there was a mastodon in the area.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Meg.
Megalodon. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. So
We are such good paleontologists here.
now here I'm going to completely eradicate this new theory.
You just heard Danny. You can't eradicate anything.
I don't care. My good friend, Mr. Beast. He's kind of
You and Jimmy are close.
yeah, me and Jimmy are really close.
Great, we're spreading rumors. We're
A
gonna get
very
sued.
wealthy man. Spent a lot of money to get into some places recently in Egypt that you can't get into. For example, under the Sphinx, which
Yeah, the Osiris Temple.
no one is allowed into, but he paid his way in. The other thing
I want that
was
kind of money.
underneath the Giza plateau.
Can we just pause for a second? I would love the amount of money to go and be like, hey, I want to go into the bottom of the Vatican and here's $1 billion.
Seriously. And that's what he did.
that's
He
awesome.
also, his tour guide for Egypt was Zahi Hawass.
Do I need to start a Kickstarter?
Yes.
Once again, if you'd like to support us to spend billions of dollars.
Emails at twaddlingalong.com. Emails
No.
at twaddlingalong.com.
But here's the issue with the theory that has just come out. Mr. Beast proved it wrong.
Or did he?
Underneath the Giza underneath the Giza plateau, the plateau is actually hollow. And there's a large underground water source, lake underneath that Mr. Beast swam in.
He swam in it.
He swam in it.
That's disgusting.
Like he said, he had to pay a lot of money
A
to do
lot
this
of money.
stuff. But it proves that there's actually just a lot of water underneath the plaza.
Which in and of itself is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Just because then we start getting into some weird conspiracy theories about the flood. And
there are some conspiracy theories. If you look at how the pyramids of Giza have deteriorated,
specifically the Sphinx.
as well as Khufu's son, who still has the top on it, it is not perfectly just slipped off. It looks like it had some weathering from water that has come upon it.
That's crazy.
I personally just believe Chuck Norris was building Legos and the pyramids came around up. So
Heck, Chuck Norris sneezed.
Is he still around, Chuck Norris?
Heck
Yes.
yeah, man.
He's got to be
Still
like
living.
80-something years old.
No,
right?
he's like 90-something.
Is he?
I think so.
Does he still have his fiery red beard?
He does, and he can still beat any person on this planet.
yeah, in fact, a
Nice.
viper bit him the other day, and after writhing in pain for a while, the viper died.
Well, I think, gentlemen, it's time for some final thoughts. We're going to start with you, Dad.
Oh.
Final thoughts on the pyramid.
You know, everything we've talked about with the pyramid, one other final thought is in that area, especially in the Middle East, it's not uncommon for new civilizations to build on top of old civilizations.
Ooh, he's throwing you under the bus,
So-
Dan.
That's true. That is a very big possibility. However, one other thing about the Giza complex is it is loaded with what they call cemeteries, but it's loaded with smaller tombs for a lot of people on both sides of the pyramids that are existing right now. So that it's basically a big, huge graveyard.
Yeah, it was seen as a structure so memorial that from all dynasties of Egypt buried a lot of their dead there just to be close to the pharaoh and
That's
the pyramids.
interesting.
Definitely a great place to visit and to experience, and grateful I had that chance.
Well, hopefully the political climate comes about where it might happen again. I don't know if I would want to go over there right now.
I wouldn't either.
Do you know where you can go?
Where, Jake?
Vegas.
Vegas.
We're going to Luxor.
Luxor.
Yeah, Bellagio.
Do you know where I don't want to go?
Vegas.
Vegas.
It's about as hot as Egypt.
Yeah, pretty.
It's
close.
about as hot as Egypt, and I like staying in my house.
It's almost
is
as
true.
hot as.
Hades.
Thank you.
There you go.
We had to stop that before it. Okay, Jake, final thoughts from you.
So just so you're aware, if you believe aliens build the pyramids, you are a racist conspiracy theorist. I didn't know this. I feel racist now. I guess that giving humans credit is an important part of things, but also it makes me sad. You look at those pyramids and how amazing they're built, and I have a hard enough time nailing a 2x4 on another.
Oh,
2x4.
amen to that. It makes me feel I'm very emasculated.
Yeah, it takes us 40 years to build a bridge.
I put a 2x4
Bangalore
and
Highway.
I put a nail and I put the nail in, and then all of a sudden it cracks, and I'm like, what happened? They built the pyramid in 26 years, and I already broke my 2x4 in 2 seconds.
Oh, how far we've come.
We're making tremendous progress, and that's why my basement is still undone. Speaking of which, if you would like to finish my basement, please come.
Emails at twaddlingalong.com. That's emails.
Now, recognize I'm not going to pay you
You'll be our
labor.
intern.
unless you help get us money, and then I can pay you.
This is our interns.
Oh, yes.
Interns.
Yeah, we need some interns on the Twaddling Along podcast.
If you are an intern and have been working with construction for 40 years, please come work in my basement.
I like the pyramids.
Or do you?
I think that they are an amazing structure, and it is always amazing to me to think about what humanity can do when we work together. And
We're all in this.
Or were they forced to do it?
well,
Whipped in the... Now,
Hey,
Zahi
come
Hawass
here,
would say there weren't
little
slaves.
ponies.
But
Hey, there's
Possibility.
things that there's not slaves, so...
I just think that even regardless of that, but keeping that in mind, the thought is that a group of people got together and built a structure that would remain not only the tallest structure for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years,
It's only 3,000, Danny.
but really thousands upon thousands upon the 3,000, but but that in turn would cause wonder all throughout the ages, I think is a really cool thought. And that's why I'm a little bit more skeptical of the conspiracies on this one. I know that I'm normally the deep conspiracy guy, but with the pyramids, I kind of want them just to be 100% man-made with just the most primitive tools.
Oh, good news. You're not racist.
Excellent. And Josh, since this was your topic, final words for you.
final words. I became interested in the pyramids when I was young and watched the History Channel. And there was a show on there hosted by Zahi Hawass where he took junior archaeologists into the pyramid. And the only reason I remember this is the first season and only season. They took a junior person in and she had to go potty, and so she peed in the pyramids. And that's how I became interested.
I just
in the
remember
pyramids.
him yelling at everyone.
He was an aggressive. He still is an aggressive.
Very aggressive.
dude.
Wait, is he still alive?
He absolutely
Yeah,
is.
he's still the
Yeah.
chief person.
No.
He straight up on this last kind of picture that they took underneath the pyramids.
LiDAR thing?
He was the very first person that's like, this is bull.
Because that's how he sounds.
But I really do love the pyramids. I do believe aliens built them. I believe humans built them. I believe there's underground cities. I believe
What about the mammoths?
that mastodons probably pooped those rocks out of their bums, and that's how they
Those
got
were
there.
really big mastodons.
Bless those mastodons.
And
listen,
the poor T-Rexes couldn't reach for him, and so they're just...
you know, Josh, we almost got through an entire podcast without the potty humor. You just ruined it.
You just did it.
Let's be
You
honest.
ruined it.
Is there potties in the pyramid? No, it's because the pyramids are a potty.
And Dad, you were sent down here specifically by Mom to stop this kind of nonsense.
I failed.
Dad, you went inside a
failed.
potty. How do you feel about that?
That happened after I was
Right.
there.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right.
Well, with that, we come to the very end of this, our first of 3. Next week is the paranormal, chosen by yours truly. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a local one.
Ooh, local.
We're gonna stick with kind of the local roots
Do
of
Cher.
Utah. Cher?
Yeah, what is it?
Oh no! Oh, I thought you were saying Cher is in the singer. Our paranormal podcast, Cher.
Guess
she
what?
looks the same
Did
age.
Bonnie die from a skiing accident?
Oh
I don't
boy,
think
we're gonna
so.
get sued by Cher now. No, it's gonna be good. I don't want to give it too much away. I will let people know as it comes up, but just know it's gonna be kind of our local flair again.
And it's only going to come up next week's podcast. We're not even going to leak anything. So
We might leak a little something.
something.
We are trying to do a little bit
drink too
more
much water.
of the social, the social media sides of things. As always, we appreciate you following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. for ranking and rating us, for leaving comments. That is helpful as we continue to grow this little experiment that we call the Twaddling Along Podcast.
If you'd like to see some pyramids, please share with your friends so we can start making money.
And also tell the political leaders over there, hey, the Twaddlers want to come. How about you calm down for a second?
Do you want to get yelled at by...
Zahiwa? Heck yeah, man. I'll be on the pyramid.
Oh, but that would require me to go out on a plane. My butt hurt from the last one. I don't know if I want to do that again.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
My butt hurts.